Well, a third round of negotiations between Ukraine and Russia is being held today. Apparently, delegations from both Russia and Ukraine are in Belarus for those talks. Foreign ministers from the European Union are also meeting later in the southern French city of Montpellier. Well, to talk a bit more about the role diplomacy is playing in all of this now, let's bring in France 24's international affairs editor, Philipp Turle. Philipp, actually, let's start with the growing confusion over the humanitarian corridors. A part of this confusion apparently involving France and the French president.
Yeah, well, first of all, after the meeting last week between Russian and Ukrainian delegations, one of the only things that came out of those talks, which were held on Monday and Thursday, was the agreement to open humanitarian corridors. It's been a total disaster since then. The Russians are accusing the Ukrainians of shelling civilians. The Ukrainians are accusing the Russians of doing the same. So basically, they've had a couple of efforts to try to get people out of the most besieged cities, including Mariupol and Kyiv. They've only lasted for about half an hour, and those people have all had then to rush back into shelters. Got no food, got no water, got no heating. So the situation there is completely dire. Now, yesterday, President Macron of France was on the phone again to Vladimir Putin. Those talks apparently lasting 1 3/4 hours. And one of the only pledges that President Putin made during those talks was, yes, he was agreeing to open up humanitarian corridors. So today we have seen that Russia is saying, yes, we will let people out, especially in the eastern part of Ukraine and in the northern part of Ukraine, but they will be taken into Russia or into Belarus. Belarus, which is in allegiance with Russia and allowing forces to come in to northern Ukraine, and Russia, of course, which is the main belligerent in all of this in Ukraine's eyes. So Ukraine has refused this today, saying this is absolutely not possible. This is what they've described as being something totally immoral, to take Ukrainian citizens into Russia, which is the country which is behind the invasion. Now, Russia's been arguing back, well, this was what was agreed during a telephone call yesterday between Emmanuel Macron and Vladimir Putin. There was a message earlier today from the French presidential palace here in Paris, the Élysée, saying that is not what was agreed with Russia. What Emmanuel Macron called on President Putin to do was to allow humanitarian aid to be brought into the country and to let citizens be taken out, but obviously not to Russia or to Belarus, but to Poland or to Moldova or to other countries further west.
So given that and given the current situation, what hope might there be for these talks today that are about to happen between Russia and Ukraine in Belarus? Can we expect anything out of them?
To be quite honest with you, Jeannie, I don't think we can really expect anything. The problem, as we've seen time and time again, is it's a no-win situation for the Ukrainians, because if they turn up to the talks, this is going to look good on Russian television. Russians do not get a balanced picture of what is going on there. It's the Ukrainians who are firing on the Russian troops. It's the Ukrainians who are firing on the civilians. That's what the Russians are being told. That's what they're seeing on Russian television. So they will see pictures of the Ukrainian delegation turning up to these talks. And then the Russians will be saying, yes, well, we put forward all these propositions to them and they turn them down. So that gives us the right to carry on because we're dealing with the Nazi regime that is in control of the country and which is committing genocide, which gives us the legal right to go in there to occupy Ukraine. The problem with the Ukrainian side is if they don't turn up to these talks, then they could be perceived as not even wanting to talk to the Russians at all. So I think they say, well, we'll go to the talks. We don't hold out much hope that anything will happen. Last week it ended up with the agreement on humanitarian corridors. We've seen what a mess that has been so far. We'll see what comes out today, but I don't think we should expect any ceasefire immediately or any withdrawal of Russian troops. That's certainly not on the agenda, I don't think, anytime soon.
Okay, Philip, thanks so much for that. France 24's Philipp Turle.